Tom Taylor, our Lord and Savior, will save us, because Suicide Squad number 11. Tom Taylor, of course, writing, Bruno Redondo on the art. The final issue of this run, of this book even.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be a Suicide Squad at some point again with different characters.
Probably March.
Probably March. That was the implication, but Connor had to spell it out because that's how he rolls.
I just being clear that it's not just going to be at some point; it'll be at the first opportunity.
So, Jog is alive because it turns out he's half god.
Yeah, this far out of nowhere.
This feels out of nowhere. I did laugh quite a bit though, the way he just kind of like nonchalantly tells the Black Racer he's not interested in finding out about his godhood. He's like, nah, I'm good. I'm gonna go see my friends. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
This is to me a sign, and I already felt this. I already felt, given things that Taylor said on Twitter and various other things. But I think this actually kind of confirms that there's plans for these characters going forward. This in particular, this scene, setting up this idea that he's like half god, and that this is why he's alive, and it's going to be. I feel like this says no. Taylor's got something that he's going to do with this later in some other book, and we've been saying for a long time as well that past a certain point, the story of the Revolutionaries is not a Suicide Squad story anymore. So it wouldn't make sense to keep doing it in a Suicide Squad book.
And I mean, just two things to add to this. He even mentioned this week he's working on his next project with Bruno Redondo. So
yes,
yeah. And I think if nothing else, the final page, not to jump ahead too much, but the final page establishes this, where usually the credits page has the big Suicide Squad, as part of the title sequence. That's not in this issue, and the credits page is at the end. It's the very last thing, and it says the Revolutionaries. I think it's pretty clear there's going to be a Revolutionaries book to follow this up.
Yeah, if it's not called that, then at least that's where it's going to be in spirit.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll be surprised if it's not just called that at this point. I think that's the most recognizable thing, the way that they can market it, is it's that book. But, I mean, we'll see.
The sad part of that is it'll be lucky if it gets to 12 issues, to be honest. I, as much as I like this, I don't think the book's going to sell that well, just because it's a bunch of new characters.
Not. Yeah.
It's not going to be long for this world, and maybe that's fine. If they go into it saying this is a 12-issue book and we can tell his story, then that's fine. But it's a shame that
it's when he goes in with 5 years of plans and they give him 12 issues.
It's just a shame that this, just because it's new characters, no matter how much we might love it, and I'm sure we will because we've been loving this, that it's just not going to sell that well, and therefore it's going to be DOA immediately. It's going to be like, okay, this was always days are numbered the second it hits the stand.
This does kind of lead into some of my problems with this issue. Is in I still like most of the issue. It's very good. It's Tom Taylor. He's still writing all his usual banter and dialogue. It's great stuff. I do think it's the weakest issue of the run, because I think it doesn't really have a proper ending. It is very much like, hey, there's more coming. We're going to get to the rest of it, and it doesn't feel like an ending to this story in a lot of ways.
That's fair. But when we get the eventual Revolutionaries omnibus, and it'll start with issues 1 to 11 of Suicide Squad, this is just Act 1 of whatever the story is.
Absolutely.
I assume.
Yeah.
So Zebra Man is containing the blast from the girl. Jog comes in and they're like, you die. He's like, yeah, I got better. And basically, he speeds out Zebra Man out to the ocean so that he can let the blast go. Although I do like the little touch of like Zebra Man starting to like falter. He's like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. And the other guy, I can't remember his name, uses his powers to say pride. And Zebra Man's like, yes, I can do this, damn it. I'm the best, I can do this. Like he uses it to motivate. So it's like a positive use of his powers as opposed to the usual negative one. I mean, it's still one of the 7 sins, of course, but still. So yeah, that's how it is. I love the full page spread of Jog holding Zebra Man. Like Superman would hold Lois in the carry position.
Yeah,
running from the blast, but it's this big bulky Zebra Man. I like it.
It's amusing. Yeah,
it's all very good. But
I like how he just like chucks him on the ground when he gets back as well.
Yes. So, and he's like, hey, fill me in. Should I leave the girl who was going to explode out there to die? And like, no. Okay, I'll go get her.
I do like this takes place over literally 3 panels. Like he gets back, throws Zebra Man. It's like, should I leave in the middle of the ocean? And it's like, no. Runs back out, and then back, and then Zebra Man hits the ground. Like it's all in that space of that. It's pretty good.
White Wink's very distressed. Like, no. Go save her. Yeah. All very good. I also laughed. So Justice League shows up to take in Black Mask into custody. I did cackle quite a bit. Harley shooting Black Mask in the leg, and then Osita doing the same thing. It was a very good bit of dark comedy. It's hard. I can't not read that and think of Terminator 2 when John Connor makes Arnold promise not to kill anyone, and he's just a guard on the knee and says he'll live. Like, that's all I could think about when I get this joke. But,
sure.
That's essentially what it is.
And then they call in diplomatic immunity, basically.
Diplomatic immunity!
I knew you're going to do that. But they basically go, hey, Mom, can you stop the Justice League taking us, please?
Well, she does. She stands up against Batman and basically burns him and talks him off the country. It's delightful and all of its own way.
Go deal with your own American shit problems.
Harley's leaving the group. She's like, hey, I'm sure, I'm proud of you guys. Whatever you're going to do is going to be great, but I have to go and speak to Deadshot's daughter, and brings her his mask, and it's like basically offers us some therapy. So I'm going to stick around and make sure you're okay. So they go back inside so she can hear stories about her dad, and that's the other thing that I think. Oh, I've got a feeling that Taylor's going to do something with Deadshot's daughter. Like, it feels ripe for exploration.
She feels primed to be joining the Revolutionaries at some point in their sequel series.
Yeah. Hell, I'll even take a live shot miniseries if he wants to.
I'll buy that as well. Don't get me wrong.
I ain't going to complain. I think it's interesting that he's kind of creating his own little corner of the DCU that's, it had Harley and Deadshot on it, but for the most part, it's kind of its own new thing. And, Deadshot's daughter as a character is not new, but doing something with her where she's kind of like the new Hawkeye, and the way Kate Bishop became Hawkeye is kind of an interesting. And
I like that Deadshot's actually dead, right?
For now.
I know it's for now. I know this is comics, nothing is forever, but the fact that it's stuck even to the end of this series, surprising. Like, when we heard, it must have been about 4 months ago now, where we first heard, "Oh, I'm going to kill Deadshot." Yeah, right when it was getting solicited, and we all went, "Yeah, right, whatever." And then it happened in that issue, and we were like, "Oh, he actually did it." And then there was no immediate reversal in the next couple of issues. That it's no, that's landed. That is the status quo, at least for a little while, and that's kind of exciting. That it tells me that Taylor does actually have, I don't want to say pull, but he has some leeway in the DC editorial offices where he can actually pull off some story beats because he wants to pull off the story beat, and not just immediately get shut down.
Yeah, the ending scenes of the issue are that the revolutionaries round up several world leaders, one of which is very clearly meant to be the current president of the United States. Not only because he's golfing, but because, he doesn't look exactly like him, but there's a lot of similarities.
He does in the
when he's holding
his
hands against his ears, he looks like Trump. He just does.
Yeah, the only way they could have made it clearer was making it a red hat instead of a blue one.
Yes. I feel like that was see, it's a blue hat. You can't sue us. It's a blue hat.
It does feel a little bit like that. That said, I think it would fall under parody anyway, because I know in Once and Future, the Gillen King Arthur thing, they're doing a similar thing right now with Boris Johnson.
But so they round up some world leaders from various places, and they essentially say to them, "We're not going to kill you, but we have all the evidence of all the ways that you have used Task Force X in the past. So some of you have funded it, some of you have used it for your dirty work, some of you have benefited from it, blah, blah, blah. You've ordered assassinations, you've done all this shady stuff. And if any of you ever come after us, essentially to clear their own names and sort of keep themselves off the hook, we'll release everything, and your families, everyone that knows you, will find out about everything you've ever done." And this is kind of their. So it sets up this new status quo where they're not on the run anymore, which I think is a very important thing. If this is Act 1 of this team, and that we're getting into an Act 2 now where they can operate without being on the run from, the international justice system, essentially. That sets up a really cool thing. So I do kind of agree that there's a lot of finale stuff in this that makes it feel a little less special than a lot of the other issues, but
it's a very good issue.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I would ask for different, to be honest, in the context of what it is and the fact that we are going to get more. We are. There's no doubt that we're getting more. So
yeah, I'm sure we are. There's undeniable, I think, at this point. They haven't officially announced it, but honestly, the biggest thing I would say that is my, in terms of an actual problem beyond just the finale stuff is, I wish the jog stuff didn't just feel like out of nowhere and really random and just like, I guess we're doing this now. I feel like I could have used some establishing or some time, or not just show up here and now. Like, I don't know, it felt a bit weird to me.
Yeah, it didn't bother me too much. It's, again, because I feel like this is something that's going to be explored more by
I'm
Taylor
sure
later.
it is, yeah.
I think what I would commend this 11-issue book though, and I think it ending with titling it the Revolutionaries instead of just saying Suicide Squad like it normally would, is a very bold claim of saying what the intent of this was. It was about setting up this new team of characters, and I've not necessarily recognized or remembered all of their names yet because it's a lot of new names, right? And I struggle with names at the best of times.
And I think it's notable. This is one of the only issues that hasn't had like it pop up with all their names, right? Most issues do.
Yeah, but the point I'm trying to make though is that the fact that they have done this to such an extent where I care about this team, I care about these characters, and I want to see more adventures with them. Given how often comics try to make new characters and try to make them feel important, and I often just end up feeling like not intentionally, but there's almost just this rejection of them in my taste and in my brain because it feels like you're trying to force something that isn't feeling natural or doesn't feel like it fits. And this was kind of a masterclass of just how to give a whole host of characters and just building them up a little by little, and just through good writing, good interactions, good little bits of backstory here or there, and good storytelling makes characters what they are and makes them likable and makes them lasting and makes you want to see more of their journeys and not just feel like they're fodder for whatever the main hero or the book story is.
Right, and I think that's why you do this, essentially this story here in a Suicide Squad book first and not a Revolutionaries. But one is the cynical side of, no, a Suicide book has a built-in sales flaw that they can guarantee a recoup of costs, and maybe then the Revolutionaries sequel will sell more because it'll bring that audience along. But the other part is it gives us an excuse to have them interact with a lot of key characters for the DC, like Harley, Deadshot, and even Amanda Waller at the start. Like we've got all these familiar faces that we all know, and we know what they're supposed to sound like, and so we've got a baseline for them to interact off of on a consistent basis, not just a random guest star here or there in the first couple of issues. It's no, here's 10, 11 issues with all with various DC characters consistently. That gives you, it forms these connections and makes them feel part of the universe and not just a separate bubble that they could have easily done if you just start in the Revolutionaries book. Yeah.
So I'm excited to see more of this team. I'm excited to see more of the characters. And we didn't really talk about the art or anything, but that's because Redondo's been doing the art for most of the book, and it's been wonderfully consistent. Coloring across the board has been very vivid and bold, and it's been a pleasure to read. It's been a pleasure to it's been kind of a feast for the eyes every single issue. Nice and clean, and
it's always popped in a very fun way. Even when it's doing like big or even dark beats at points.
Yeah.
It's felt like it's tongue in cheek feels a little bit harsh, but that sounds bad. But I mean it in a good way. In that sense, like it's got a sense of humor to it. It's having fun.
Yeah. So what are you giving it?
I'm going to give it an 8, which is the lowest I've given an issue of this 11-issue book. But again, it's still an 8. It's still pretty good.
8.5 for me. So that is Suicide Squad number 11.